The major goal of every football team across the country during August camp is to stay healthy. That, unfortunately, is not the case at Wake Forest. And way beyond that, we're not going to speculate, but there could be possibly more serious issues involving the Wake Forest football team and their leader at quarterback, Sam Hartman. We got Tony Siracusa on the line from Last Word on College Football to discuss what Tony was able to find out today. Tony, how you doing?
Hey, Mark, how you doing? Yeah, it was a weird day at practice in Winston-Salem this morning. The media was there. What media shows up on a daily basis and kind of hanging out, taking some pictures during the period where we're allowed full access to the field before we have to go upstairs and watch from the tower up high, as it were, and just chatting up the media folks. And you turn around and see Sam Hartman in street clothes. And the media people instantly realized what we had just seen. And they were like, this is embargoed. You can't do anything with this right now. We're going to have a full statement in about 20 minutes. And you can do with that what you need at that point. So the net of the situation and the statement from the school came in three parts. And, we can get to that in a minute. The net of this is Sam Hartman is out indefinitely. And it is a non-football related issue. It's not an injury. It is what they are calling a medical condition. And so here's what we know. The statement from the school was pretty opaque. Matter of fact, I'll read the official school statement right here. Following a workout on Tuesday, August 9th, redshirt junior quarterback Sam Hartman sought medical attention for a non-football related condition. That's that. And they went into, because of HIPAA, they won't discuss the specifics. They included a statement from head coach Dave Clawson, who talked about how valuable Sam is as a quarterback and a team leader, and they are eager to have him back when the time is right. They had a statement from Sam, which was slightly more revealing. It said, Tuesday was a frustrating day, but I'm extremely grateful for our medical staff and for Dr. Chris Miles and Niles Fleet for staying with me throughout the process. I look forward to attacking the rehabilitation process, and I'm so appreciative of the support I've received from my family, teammates, and coaches. One other thing to add to what the school said in its part of it, the athletic department, was anyone wanting to send well wishes to Sam and his family, send them to this email address. That makes it sound pretty dire when you do something like that. That kind of puts a whole different spin on it. Now we get to the second part of this, and Sam was at practice all day. His mother was there. If you don't know them, you can get the idea that, oh my gosh, it must be horrible. They flew Sam's mother out and she was there. They live in Charlotte. They take the same hour and 10-minute drive to Winston-Salem that I do on any day I go to practice, or go watch the team. So they're locals. It didn't take, and Sam's father is actually a surgeon, so very well medically versed. What we got from Dave Clawson after practice was a little bit more revealing. Again, bearing in mind, they are not going to tell us what exactly this is. But Clawson said, we didn't know what this was until late last night. And at that point, Hartman was having a surgical procedure. So he has had surgery for whatever this is. I would say, without speculating, I would say that whatever it is, at least he passed the medical muster after that, if you will, because he was at practice at 7:30 this morning on Wednesday morning. They weren't keeping him in the hospital for observation or more tests or anything like that. So whatever it was, apparently was dealt with. He was taken to the local Baptist hospital yesterday afternoon. So the timeline goes from there was no practice yesterday. Players working out. After the workout, Hartman went and needed to talk to the trainer. Trainer goes through whatever the issue is, decides they need to consult with the team physicians. the team physicians are brought in to consult. They wound up transporting him to the hospital, to Wake Forest Baptist Hospital. And he has surgery at some point last night. Clausen advised the team, had a team meeting last night prior to the surgery, just saying, there's this thing going on with Sam. He's going to be out. We don't know how long he's going to be out. We will keep you updated. So again, the next part of this is we don't know how long he's going to be out. He had surgery. He apparently is going to start his rehabilitation process at some point this week. Clausen said in his little media gaggle on Wednesday after practice, said, Sam's going to be back. We just don't know when. We don't know what the timeline is. I have now watched that interview that I was a part of. I've now watched it on video another 4 or 5 times. And there's one thing that is missing that I think none of us caught at that moment when he says he's going to be back this season or no. Do we even know if he's going to be back this season? It was the one follow-up that none of us got to, none of us thought of at the moment. You're saying he's going to be back. Are you saying he's going to be back this season? Sam Hartman had made it clear that this, barring catastrophic injury, this was going to be his last season, even though he's got another year of eligibility. He's a 5th-year player, so he could play again next year. So I think all of this is a wait and see when it comes to Hartman. Clausen made it clear his first concern was Sam's health and well-being, long-term health. Again, whatever this is. Again, don't want to speculate too much, but it is well known that Hartman had a kind of freakish medical condition when he was in high school. He had to have surgery to remove a lump from his shoulder that was essentially a mound of built up bacteria, because he's got it was a byproduct of a birth defect in his thyroid gland. And it was in his left shoulder, and which, we are led to believe that whatever procedure he had was in his left shoulder, arm, somewhere from here to here. Right. And I'm not going to say that it was a return of that, because I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to speculate. I'm just pointing out that he did have that, probably 4 or 5 years ago. So we don't know what it is. We're not going to find out what it is unless Sam decides to reveal it himself, which I'm going to estimate is probably not going to happen.
Tony Siracusa, last word on college football. Certainly we point you toward last word on college football for Tony's coverage on the Sam Hartman injury, incident, medical condition, to be more accurate.
Right.
And then also, of course, Wake Forest and college football coverage. Like you and like many of the media members, it seems as though when I read that statement from Dave Clausen, it hit me the same way. I just kind of brushed through, okay, he expects him to be back, and I filled in the blank this season. Should not have done that.
Yeah, he didn't say it. He didn't say this season. And so I think we all assumed it, but the more I thought about it, I was like, wow, you're right. He didn't fill in that blank. It's missing.
Tony, there are probably better quarterbacks in the country. Not many, but there are probably better quarterbacks in the country. But outside of maybe Brennan Armstrong in Virginia, I don't know that there's a more valuable quarterback in the country based on what we expect the defense to be, what it was last year, based on the running game or lack thereof. It's a decent ground game, but it's not overwhelming. They rely so heavily on him. 39 touchdown passes last year, 50 touchdowns accounted for. This is a bigger blow than, again, it could be argued, any other single player in the country.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right. I mean, this is a team that it's one of the most experienced teams in the country, and certainly on offense, as you point out, they're returning about 80% of last year's offensive production. But that begins with Sam. And Sam, when you watch him on the field, there is no question who the leader of that team is. I think Clausen today called him the alpha, on the team. Now, I asked Clausen directly, I said, how do you fill that void? You've now lost your commander, of the offense. How do you fill that void? And his answer was, look, you're not wrong. We're losing our alpha leader, but we've got an offensive line that has a couple of fifth-year guys and some sixth-year guys, and even one seventh-year guy because of his medical red shirt and his medical waiver. We've got fourth and fifth-year guys, a wide receiver, and so we've got people who will fill in. And all of that is true, but they're not Sam Hartman. And Sam is the guy who's going to make you work harder in the weight room. Sam is the guy yesterday when we were watching some of the team scrimmages, full speed scrimmages with the offense and the defense. Sam's the guy running downfield to high five his receivers and talk them up the whole way back to the huddle. He's that guy. You don't easily replace that. Like you said, this is the ACC Atlantic Division, top to bottom, is probably the deepest in the country in terms of quarterbacks. I mean, you've got Devin Leary at North Carolina State, and as you pointed out, Brennan Armstrong at Virginia, and Malik Cunningham at Louisville, and Phil Jurkovic at Boston College, and even DJ Uiagalelei at Clemson. This is deep from top to bottom. And it is a quarterback division. And now a Wake Forest team that had very lofty expectations for the season is missing their leader. The new number one quarterback has been named. There was a decent battle between with Mitch Griffins and Michael Kern for the number 2 spot. Griffiths is the new number one. There was no point in keeping the competition going. As Clausen pointed out, he would have liked those two to keep battling for the number 2 spot, but you're 3 weeks out from the start of the season. You need someone to be getting the number 1 reps, the QB1 reps right now. So right now it is, if the season were to start today, it's Mitch Griffiths. And I've already seen a lot of Wake Forest fans who, have concerns based on the spring scrimmage, and I'm kind of like, it was a controlled scrimmage. There wasn't really a lot of putting out your best out there. Clausen makes it very clear he's going to run 4 or 5 plays total throughout the entire thing and just keep running them because he's got such a sense of paranoia based on, WikiLeaks and things in the past that he's not going to put a lot out there. So to make a judgment on Griffiths based on the spring scrimmage, I think is a little short-sighted, but there is no denying there's a huge fall off from Hartman to Griffiths in terms of experience. I mean, Griffiths has got 15 passing attempts in his career over 2 years, 4 of 15 passing, 56 yards and a touchdown over 8 games. Because he's played some mop-up duty, and in mop-up duty, you're not going to have your quarterback throwing downfield. And he played against Clemson, but, Clemson already had a huge lead, when he went in. So he hasn't really seen the fire yet, as it were. And he's gonna have to learn pretty quickly.
Tony Siracusa, last word on college football. One of the stalwarts that I lean on when there's a story like this, and based on his 2022 assignment of covering Wake Forest football, this is right in the wheelhouse. So, Tony, we knew it would come in some fashion, but this is a rarity in regards to, we knew that a major player would go down, unfortunately, somewhere across college football in August. It always happens, but this is a headliner for a number of different reasons, and hopefully Sam Hartman makes it back, and we wish him, of course, all the best.
Yeah, and it's a headliner because Hartman is a bit of a rarity in college football these days. He's in his 5th year, and he spent his entire career at one university. And I think you and I can probably name maybe 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the entire country out of the 160 schools, playing FBS football that can say that. My old team that I covered, UCLA, you've got Dorian Thompson-Robinson there has done it. You've got Sam Hartman, and not a lot beyond that off the top of my head who can say that they are the face of that program for multiple years.
Check out the complete story on Sam Hartman's situation there at Wake Forest at Last Word on College Football, and Tony's complete coverage of Wake Forest, the ACC, and the nation there with Tony, Jason Ray, Kevin McGuffey, everybody there, Last Word on College Football, that does such an outstanding job collectively. Tony, thank you so much for stopping by.
All right, Mark, glad to do it.